Welcome, everybody. This is Gnashing of Teeth. This is episode 5. I'm Casey.
And I'm Milo.
Yep. So today we're going to talk about, well, it originated with a book, and it's John Dee and like the angels and Enochian magic. And basically, the book is about John Dee and his fellow part, Edward Kelly, and they're working with angels. They're
Yep.
not carrying around the lesser key of Solomon. They're working with, angels. And it's really cool. So they end up learning the angelic alphabet and practically creating a Ouija board where the Ouija board's so negative, but yet here's John Dee and Edward Kelly using a Ouija board, kinda. It's the angelic alphabet board, but to communicate with angels, which is such a different
Mhm.
thing. It's a culty, but it's just a different thing. So just I know you have a little experience with some knowledge on the Enochian angels and that kind of thing. So I wanted to hear your kind of side of that.
Yeah, so it's an interesting topic, and I haven't delved into like actual like work with it, right? It's more of like research. And for anybody that doesn't know, I guess John Dee was an occultist, a mathematician, and he was majorly under the protection of Elizabeth the First in the late 15th century, which was huge
The
because
Queen.
when you're doing the Queen, when you're doing occult activities and researching that, you're a major target. So he probably enjoyed the benefit of that protection, and according to reports, held vast libraries. So, anyways, he started working with angels before Kelly, but saw largely not a lot of success with it. And he met Kelly, which is a scryer and alchemist, and he started seeing some success and documented the Enochian angels, right? And the angelical alphabet, obviously. And cool thing, Enochian, the reason why it's named Enochian is because it's thought that Enoch was the last person to know the language, hence why it's called Enochian. And well, obviously, until John Dee and Edward Kelly happened upon it. And yeah, so Kelly started receiving visions and the crystal or whatever, and these quote unquote angels started talking to him and dictating them a bunch of basically bunch of stuff, and largely wrote about in Liber Lagoeth, which is Edward Kelly's writing, and there's a bunch of writings on it. Anyways, you said that you have John Dee's, I'm guessing like 4 book collection, like the complete workings.
Yeah. So the one I had is it's just got it's big. It's got like this blue kind of thing.
Big,
I don't all my stuff's still in Houston. I pulled the book out. My stuff's supposed to be here next week, by the way. So I'll be
that's
100%.
fine.
But the book is basically about him and Edward Kelly
Mhm.
working with the angels, and yeah, it's pretty intense. There's and I don't know I have the answer. I just don't have the book to reference. But in the end of that book, someone actually takes over the work of John Dee and Edward Kelly. Like this whole thing is continued on. So
Yeah,
like if Enoch started this thing and John Dee and Edward Kelly took it on, and then someone else had taken it on, it's somewhere today still.
right, right, right. It's a large system of magic. The Enochian alphabet, you have the 19 angelical keys, the 30 ethers or aethers or something. It's a huge, complex system of magic. And
Yeah.
obviously, I haven't worked it. I haven't read a lot about it. I like Lon Milo, DuQuette's book, Enochian Vision Magic. I don't like it
Okay.
just because his name has my name in it, but I do like that book. And I do, obviously, I want you to talk about it a little bit more, but I do have like an interesting, not necessarily conspiracy, but kind of like towards the end of what happened with the Enochian angels and Kelly and Dee that I want to discuss at the end, but I'll let you take it over
Yeah.
and
So
go for it.
so what the book basically says is, these the angels end up telling these two guys, hey, it's going to get rough. You're now working for God. God's telling us what to tell you to do. You're doing God's work. And, they're into it, but, they want to sleep. And the angels are like, no, there's just so much to do. And the way the angels punish them is pretty crazy. I mean, it's pretty brutal. Like you'd think the opposite in the occult. Like you think the angels would be, and they think, but I remember reading a passage where they're talking to an angel on the board, and the angel says, I need dirt or soil from the four corners of earth or whatever. And they only came up with like two or three, I don't remember. But they come back to the angels and they say, we got three and we're exhausted, you know. And the angels are like, okay, you want us to go present this to God. And
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, yeah. And the angel's like, well, we're all gonna get in trouble for this one. Like, this is so bad, you know, like, are you
Yeah.
sure? Like, can you not go get it or whatever? And what's really crazy about the whole thing, it reminds me of the Old Testament God, right? The angry guy.
Mhm.
Uh, the angels say, and it says this throughout this book quite a bit. Well, God's hand, maybe it's fist, I think it's hand. God's hand is going to come down on you and heavily. And they're like, well, it is what it is. This is what we got.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and I believe somewhere throughout this book, Edward Kelly did something, and they put him in a coma for like a long time for like disobeying, God. So basically, it was like, hey, you figured it out, reached out to us. We gave you the roadmap and the vehicle to contact
Mhm.
us, but it's now a binding agreement with God. You're now working with God and the angels. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But they think it is, and they're saying it is. And man, these two guys get threatened and they're told to do all kinds of weird stuff. But it's super cool because uh it's a little more hardcore than like occult work. Like I just remember being like, man, you're working with God and angels. This is crazy. Like this is nuts. Like
Yeah.
the guys aren't eating, they're not sleeping, they're he
Right.
can't even work for the queen. The queen wants to know what's going on in the planets, and he's like, hey, look, babe, I got I got billion things going on that you just don't understand.
Right.
My life,
Yeah.
my soul's in the balance here, lady. you
Yeah.
know eat your soup and leave me alone. So that's just how it was really, you read it fast like a Donald Tyson book. It just takes you there. You're glued to it. And I've seen some other, actually on YouTube there are other reviews of the book that are pretty spot on,
Mhm.
which is cool because it's a great book. I've recommended it to just some of the occult people I know. But it's a really, really neat contrast to um, see how similar it is to work with, you know, angels and or fallen angels. Very similar. Well, as it would be.
Right.
Whether you live here, you
Right.
live there, you're still an angel.
Yeah.
So of course it's similar.
Yeah.
What do you think
There's
of that?
definitely there's a lot of content on the Enochian Angels, it seems like, in a lot of different viewpoints. And this might be touching a bit into not necessarily conspiracy land, but a potential rabbit hole here. A lot of people say that it was a hoax, or potentially
Whoa.
Kelly made it up, right? So you think of John D trying to contact angels and not having any success, and then here comes Kelly, and all of a sudden he's having a bunch of success. He makes up a bunch of stuff. But obviously, I could say that that isn't necessarily true because a lot of people work the system of magic and have results with it. So I don't think it's necessarily made up. But whether they're angels or not is quite, a different story. And it's interesting because Kelly and Dee had a really good relationship for a while, but it ended pretty abruptly. And I was researching into it, and apparently towards the end, um, the Angels, I'm pretty sure it was one in particular, Mimidry or something. I'll have to get back on that. But one of them basically said, you two are really close. You should share everything, including wives, which was a huge sin, right? So D actually, they ended up doing it, and it lasted a month, and D canceled the whole thing, right? So there's two routes that you could go with that, right? Kelly was a scryer and an alchemist, and according to reports, Kelly wanted to pursue alchemy, but D was all about the angels. Keep scrying, and the angels, like you said, keeping them up at night, like, let's get this done. And Kelly might have not wanted any of that, right? Or the angel said to do that, and Kelly followed, and D ended the whole thing. And it's very interesting. That was around 1589 to be precise.
Mhm.
And obviously they parted ways. Dee went back to England. Kelly, I don't even know where Kelly ended up. And yeah, it's a bit of a rabbit hole. Madimi,
Me-
Madimi, was
Medemi.
apparently was apparently the angel that suggested the wife swap thing.
Oh,
And it's
interesting.
interesting. It is interesting because it potentially has ties to the goddess Babylon, which is Crowley's Thelemic Babylon thing.
Yep.
And it has ties to potentially Lilith when looking at the book Liber Lilith, which is by Donald Tyson, which is a Gnostic grimoire. But it's definitely a rabbit hole that I went down and tried to research. And yeah, crazy. It's crazy. Weird.
Yeah. Wow.
So is the angel Madimi really working for God if it has this kind of quote unquote sinful appeal almost?
It almost sounds like when you're the new guy at the factory, and they're like, "Hey, go down there and get me the board stretcher." And so you're walking around asking for the board stretcher, and boards don't stretch, so there's no such thing that exists. And everyone just kind of laughs and sends you on your way. And so you're the idiot for a day looking for the board stretcher. That's what it felt like. It felt like they really put the pressure on them. And then to me, I don't remember a lot of the detail. I just remember, like, why on earth would they want that done? They
Yeah,
come up with this extravagant way to communicate, and it's like, hey, get me some dirt from here and there and there and there and there and there. Why? Why? If
yeah,
God's so almighty, why didn't he just get it?
yeah.
So it is quite strange.
It is. It is. It is. I think John D. I could be wrong on this, and obviously, if anybody's more educated on the topic, feel free to email us a comment. But I'm pretty sure D eventually accused Kelly of consorting with evil angels and using black magic. And I'm not sure, I don't want to misquote, but I read somewhere that when he did that, when he called him out for evil angels and black magic, it was because Kelly came up with something that the angels basically told him that Jesus was not God, no prayer ought to be made to Jesus, and that Jesus is like, I don't want to misquote this, but basically that he took honor away from God, right? So D obviously went after Kelly on that after their whole ordeal, and it's a bit interesting, but definitely a rabbit hole.
It's really a strange book, and here's why. Because the angels, if they were or not, would say something evil's coming to like throw a wrench in this whole thing. And they're like, here's what you have to look out for. He's going to come wearing a red cloak. He's going to be having a certain hat. I'm making I'm making this up, but it's very similar. Like I don't remember what I read, but right. they would warn him of like evil coming, and oh, he's wearing this, and he's going to be like this, and like, so you could see him coming for a mile, right? There'll be 100 rabbits following him, right? Like it's the craziest stuff. And yeah, so then they would like spoof the thing, like, oh, whatever, guy, we're not listening to you. And after a while, you don't know who they're talking. That book gets so blended, The book itself. I mean, I'm not even talking about the John D, his life story. Just this moment, that book. Yeah. At the end, you don't know what's up and what's down, what's going on. I didn't. I'm like, who are they? After a while, you're like, is this really what angels are like? Is this really what God's like? Like, this can't be. But then you have to get yourself out of like Western religion and like Western medicine and get out of all that again and say, okay, well, it could be anything, right? Or maybe this is how God works. I don't know. So that's what was really cool about it, is the whole thing of, does this make sense or does it not make sense? And it's definitely entertaining. And John D was definitely an interesting guy. And yes, those two definitely had a falling out. The book talks about the falling out too. I just don't remember.
Yeah. When you talked about, getting how the book talks about getting the dirt from the four corners, right?
Yeah.
It reminds me of like, for instance, when you're looking at like Saint Cyprian, the book, and it's like, get a chicken's egg and put it in horse manure and let it sit for 7 days, and then put a tiny hole in it and flip this in it. And it's just absolutely impossible. And it's just like, why would you do that? Why would you come up with that? And why would that be the system? Like dirt from the four corners, like it's not possible. Why would God want it?
What was the one spell in Cyprian where he's like, you need some baby skin and you need like something, and you bury it, and then this little devil will pop up and come run to you. Now you have this little devil that'll hang out with you.
Yeah.
What? First of all, I want a little devil to hang out with me. My problem is trying to get baby skin.
Right.
How am I going to do that? How much do I need? I got to go in there with like a meat cleaver. So this is how occultists get a bad name.
Yeah.
What'd you get arrested for? Oh, I took a chunk of skin off this little baby. Oh, for what? Nah, magic. I was trying to get a little devil.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good,
Yeah.
So I get you. Some of the stuff's just out there. I don't know. The whole Saint Cyprian thing could have been a total joke. Hey, if you really want to repent, write down all the things. And he's like, well, I'm not burning those guys. So if you go down to the tree by the well and you take 15 paces, there's a rabbit's head, and he's just laughing about it. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I think a lot of that's jumbled. I think a lot of it's true. I think a lot of it's a mess too. But yeah, you read some of the stuff the angels want done, and you're like, why wouldn't they want him to run down to the hospital and like say like help some people? Like
Yeah,
go down and get to the well, get some water, bring it to Jill's kids. Thank you. You're doing God's work.
right.
Didn't seem like they're doing God's work to me. But anyway, who knows what
Yeah,
God wants? So
yeah,
still still a crazy, there's so much to research on that. What's interesting is where it is now, you know, because if Enoch took it on and knew the language, and then those guys figured out the language, and the angels taught them the board. And
right.
it's did you ever see a picture of the board?
Hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty complicated. It's
Yeah,
cool. It's cool, and it's definitely a magical looking thing. And you know, and those two, of course, their demise happened, and then someone took it on, and it'd be interesting to like follow that. That would be something cool to follow. Is like, where did that go? Who's got
right.
that? You know, because you're
Yeah,
talking someone would have took it over probably in the 1600s, and then maybe it bled into something and came here or came there, or you know, where does that fall in Peter Carroll's Magic timeline? You know, you can almost start building that. It'd be really cool to do. But I bet you someone has the angelic alphabet and is doing that today. I'm sure of it.
yeah, yeah,
Or
definitely.
or, or you just get John Dee's book and you create your own and you just go.
Yeah, but if it's as true as that book is, where it's like go to the four corners of the world and grab dirt and all this unrealistic stuff, do you really want to put yourself under that pressure?
No,
I get like trying to like, I think people would, work the system of magic and try to learn what they are. Like if Enoch was truly the last person that knew the language, then why did it fall off at him? Why did we now just all of a sudden, once Edward and Dee came together, it just magically happened. And now these angels were like, we got to get a bunch of stuff done because you're the first person in a millennia to talk to us.
I don't
It's
know
crazy.
how. I don't know how they. I don't. If it says it in the book how they did it. I don't know if they were scrying and fell upon an angel, and then the angels taught them that. I don't know if the angels came to them. I don't know if they were doing pendulum. I don't know what they were doing. Somehow they made a contact. They
Mhm.
didn't have the alphabet. The angels taught them the alphabet.
Um,
I know that.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, so they wanted them. The angels wanted those two to communicate with them, and then obviously do God's work is what they called it.
Right.
No,
Right.
maybe it was their God. It's funny. Um, the flat Earth people.
Hmm.
One of their big arguments is that the Bible always talks about the four corners of Earth, and then they come back and say, "Does a globe have corners?" Whatever.
Right.
I'm not for it or against it. I don't like them or dislike them. I'm just saying the corner thing is odd. It's always been odd.
Yeah.
Four corners of the
Yeah.
world. But uh, it's funny how those two started off so well, and then the whole journey, and then it crumbled.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
For sure. Good topic.
that's a
Definitely something that I got to keep researching on.
that's a never ending. You some stuff's kind of easy to the what's the red dragon, right? Which is
Hmm.
the Rofocall. The Vatican has it, and then it had a
Luciferge.
yep. It had a sister book called the Black Dragon, but you can't find the Black Dragon. It had changed its name, and if you don't do your research, you don't know. And it doesn't take long to find out that it was changed to the Black Pullet, which is like the black hen or the black chicken or whatever. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that is now what's called the crossed keys. So if you buy the crossed keys, you're getting the companion book of the Great Grimoire, the Red Dragon. So some research in the occult isn't too hard to follow. But if you're going to follow John Dee's legacy, man, you got some time to spend. I mean, that's a big open deal, man, with a lot of turns and boy.
Well, it's not just like, Enochian magic and the angels. He collected occult books from all over.
Yeah.
And it's just everything that he could be writing could be cross-referenced from so many different sources that he had. It's unreal.
Yeah. 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 Well, I think what didn't the Queen hire him to like do astrology, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I believe so.
John D, should I go to war? No, you don't go to war right now. Saturn's in Leo and all that crap. So do you believe in the astrology stuff?
I think there's some power to it, but I'm not like keen on, I don't know, like what you said, Saturn's in Leo. I don't keep up with that type deal. But
I didn't say astrology is stupid. I meant what I said was stupid. Right. Like after I said it, I was like, that sounded so dumb. That was stupid. But that's what he did. Well, that's what she hired him for.
Yeah.
There's people who know that stuff. Hey, we're in the age of this. Tonight's this. There's this kind of moon under this thing, and we're under this sign, and it's pretty wild. There's also people who are like, no, your birthday and that day means absolutely nothing. It means your mom and dad had sex 9 months ago. That's all it means.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. To each his own. That's a whole different
right
thing. We could have a John D 2 video that we find out what happened after the Kelly thing. We could do an astrology one. There's so much we could do. Okay, our counter just hit. Boom. So what a cool topic. Yeah, you know a lot about the Enochian thing. That's really cool. Let's do this. I don't have anything more to add except for I just came up with 50 more episodes we could do. Basically. So let me ask you this: you want to summarize and close it down?
Yeah. Good topic. Definitely a big system of magic that's worth exploring and worth looking into and researching. Obviously, I fell down a rabbit hole because I'm interested in Lilith, and Liber Lilith connected me to, the seances with Edward Kelly and John D through Madimi. I might butcher that name again, but obviously that's how I got connected and fell into the rabbit hole of it. But obviously that's just one part of it. It's a whole nother paradigm. So yeah, definitely good. Let us know what you guys think in the comments and email us if you have any questions. We'd love to hear your guys' opinion. If any of you have worked the system of magic, Enochian magic. Yeah.
Yep. gnashingofteethpodcast at gmail.com or hit us in the YouTube videos for sure. We're going to start trying to market in different places on social media. So look out for us. We're going to start pushing it a little bit harder. So I guess that's
we will find a podcast to stream us.
We do. Absolutely. So when we record these, we do have an audio file and a video file. So it's quite easy to throw the video file on YouTube. It's finding a platform for the audio file. Thought I had one, and I kind of fell through. So we're gonna research that and see if we can't find that and get that out for you guys as well. Yeah. All right, G.
All right.
Good one. Another good one. All right. So I'll catch up with you in a few, and we'll keep going.
All righty. See you.
All right, bye.